Hello and welcome to my channel. This is April with inkycreationswithapril.com. I'm so glad you stopped by. Let's get started. Today's card is part of the Let's Get Sentimental video hop with the Altenew Certified Educators. Please check the description below for all the information regarding the hop and who is next in line in the hop. Thank you for hopping along with us. So for my card, I'm going to use 3 products from Altenew that will be the main focus of our card. I'm going to use the Blobby roses. This is a 4-piece layering die set, and it also comes with some coordinating dies. We're not using those today, but they're great to have, and you could definitely make an extra panel and use these to make your card pop a little bit more. Also going to use one of my very favorites is the Versatile Greetings. This also comes with hot foil plates, but we're just going to use the dies today. And then for a sentiment, we're going to use the bold sentiments, and these are just something that I have really been enjoying lately. They stamp beautifully and they emboss great too. So let's get started with the Blobby roses. I'm going to pull those out. And we're gonna use the sticky grid mat from Altenew today. And this is the low tack one, I believe. And it works fine. You really have to pull to get this release paper off, but pull the paper, not the stamp. And then get that positioned here, and as you can see, it does stain when you use like a pink or a red. So I'm gonna take and put this on there, and I'm gonna use a couple large ink blending tools as well as some of my minis. This is how I store my minis, and I'm going to use blush, Altenew's Crisp Dye Ink, Pink Diamond, and Puffy Heart. And then for my leaves, I'm going to use Parrot and Olive. These are kind of a go-to for me that I really enjoy using. So, okay, let's get this. And I want the most, so this, as you can see here, has a bit, and there are leaves that fill it up, but I want the most florals that I can get. So I'm gonna kind of start with it off to one side. I'm gonna make sure most of my florals over here are on here. So this works great. The sticky grid sticks on these sides, but it does not stick over here because there's not enough to hang over. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of satin masking tape to hold that into place. So on these bigger ones, I'm gonna go ahead and use my large blending tool. I love that these have a little holder. I love the size of them, and I love the grip of them. Because I am starting with a very pale light blush color. And for the minis, I just kind of take and rub them around just like this, and that gets plenty of ink on them for me. And then I always just do a quick tap off, and then I kind of go in both directions with my blending tools, or I try to remember to. And you can barely see this blush, so I'm going to add one more little layer of blush. Going to ink that up really good, bounce it off. And there's actually more color being laid down than what you would think. You'll see that when I remove this stencil. So I'm going to clean this off real quick so it's ready for my next color. Just going to peel that tape back and pop this up. I'm going to set this aside, and later I'll just clean this with some rubbing alcohol that I have in a little spray bottle, and it cleans it really well. So unless I am using some really dark ink that just won't come off, that's what I use. So I am going to get this in place here. I'm going to tape that down real quick. And you can see it change color here. That's how you know that it's got a nice grip. And it does need just a little bit of room. This over here won't grip, so keep that in mind, that if you're going to use one side or the other, or a 6x6 piece of paper, that the mat won't grip it, you'll have to tape it. So now I'm going to use the pink diamond and just do the same sort of procedure here and quickly add that next layer of color. And I love this blending brush is a great size. The color goes on super quick. I want to darken this up just a tad, so I'm going to put on another layer. And perfect. Put that aside, clean off my brush, and peel back this tape. So now it has you jump to the leaves, which is fine because the forced stencil has the details for the leaves and the flowers. So you will see there is some really great spots on here around the flowers where you can see they line up. So I'm just going to take just a sec and get these all lined up. That is one thing, is once it starts to stick, it's a little hard to get lined up. So don't let it stick down till you're ready. Okay. And I'm going to have to move my little piece of tape here and have a nice big spot for it right here. Get that all stuck down. Put my pink blending brush away, grab my green one, and I just have blending brushes pretty much for color families, and sometimes I do lights and darks in between. So I'm going to ink this up with the Parrot, and it's just kind of a yellowy green, but I really liked it for this card. I'm just going to put one more quick layer on, and this makes it just a little bit more green. Isn't that amazing? Just that one little extra layer really darkens up that green. So I'm done with Parrot, and I am done with my blending brushes. So I'm going to set my blending brushes off to the side, because we're going to need, for the details, we're going to need our minis. And I do have a dark and a light for the green minis. So let's get this up and off of here, put off to the side, and now we're going to get these little guys in place. Okay, get that all nice and stuck down. So I'm going to use my little blending brushes, and I'm going to start with Puffy Heart here for just the flower parts. You can see it's the pink parts, so I'm just very carefully going to ink those up. And I want those to be pretty dark, so I'm being pretty generous. I'm using a pretty heavy hand and really getting in there, trying to remember to go both ways. That's just something I just started doing to make sure I get a really nice blend over my entire image. So this is a cute detail for our little flowers. So I'm just being really careful here. I'm leaving a few little spots that I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how you can tape around to make sure you don't get any of your leaves with pink on them. So as long as I have enough room, like down here, I go ahead and I ink blend. I have plenty of room here and here. So it's right in here that I have a little problem. Well, that's what Post-it notes are for. So I'm just going to take a quick Post-it note. I'm just going to kind of hold it into place and blend really quick there. And I'm going to do the same thing right here and be very careful You could use more than one Post-it note. You could use Post-it tape. You could use some of the satin masking tape. That would be great. So I will come back to this and use it when I do the green as well. So I am going to grab my green and the olive. And you do have to be careful. I've bent a few of these. It still works, but be careful. I don't tend to use pixie dust unless it's a very fully detailed, intricate little stencil. It's just, pixie dust is really hard to get off your stencil once you've put it on there. So keep that in mind if you use pixie dust, that it may be hard to get your stencil nice and clean. I am all done with this. Let me move some stuff out of the way. Peel this back. And we have this. Your paper doesn't stick quite as well as the plastic sticks to that, but here is our background panel. So here's this. I am going to go ahead and trim this down because I'm going to layer it. So I'm just going to trim 1/4 inch off of both of my sides. So I am just quickly going to do a little bit of splattering. I usually do it in my splatter box, but I am not going to do that today. So I'm just going to take a little bit of distilled water, nothing fancy, and I am taking that Puffy heart and I'm going to squish it right next to that water, and I'm going to squish quite a bit of it. I am just going to take a little tiny bit of this water, get my brush wet, put in here, get this to where it's all done, and just quickly do a fun splatter on here. I'm going to set that aside and let that panel dry. Now let's grab our versatile greetings, and we are going to use the love, friend, and you, but you could put any combination you wanted together. And I'm going to take my shadow portion, I'm going to put the words aside, and I'm going to put those right here because I'm going to cut out. So make sure they're all facing the right way. I'm going to grab me just a little bit of tape here to hold these in place. So I'm going to try to make sure they're even. So I'm going to take this and run this through my die cut machine, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've cut these out. Now we need these, so don't get rid of these, but we are done with our shadows. So sorry, I have a little bit of tape here, gonna get that off. So there's several ways we could have done this, but I am actually just going to mount this directly onto my background panel. You could pop it up and then just recess our word in here, but I'm going to just glue this directly on here, and I'm going to go ahead and do this before I get my other stuff ready to die cut. So you could do the reverse of what I'm doing. That would be that's a fun look too. I've done it several times, and that would be really fun. So gonna get that right into place, press that down. So now we have these little words that we need to tape into each of these. So I'm just going to put these directly in the middle. It kind of helps if you do it up off the work surface, and then I just wrap that around. So I'm going to do that for the love, for the you, and I will be right back. Okay, so I am back and I went ahead and cut these out of those shadows that we had cut out of this panel. So these will fit right in there. And then I want to stack these up. So I went ahead and cut 3 more just out of some scrap white cardstock that I have in a drawer over here. And I cut extras of those so we could stack them up. So let me just show you real quick how I stack, and then I won't make you watch me stack all of these. So I'm going to start with the love here, and I just lay them out, put some glue on the back, and see, you can see this is a scrap piece that I had obviously was doing something with another card, stamped on it, decided I don't like that, so has a perfectly good other side, so I used it. So I just continue this process, and once I have one whole word nice and stacked up, and I just use my fingers to get them nice in order. Let me show you what I do for them to dry so that none of the edges are popping up or anything like that. I want a nice look for my word dies, and I do this with most word dies. It is just really impossible to put little tiny pieces of foam tape behind them. You can, but it's just not for me. So once I have it like that, I just set something heavy like an acrylic block on it and let it dry for a few minutes. So I'm going to finish the friend and the U, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have all of these glued together. You can see there's a lot of dimension to them. And this card really makes the most impact in person, but now we're just going to inlay these. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back and put these right in the middle here. Gonna set something heavy on there for just a sec. Be very careful because the liquid glue does allow you to move things around a little bit. So you definitely don't want to accidentally move those letters. So while that's just having a moment to adhere, let's just stamp my, sorry, I keep trying to move this out of the way and that's not what I'm doing. So I'm just going to stamp this on a little piece of this is just extra cardstock that I have in a drawer again. These have some really great sentiments, and I'm just going to use the You're Amazing. And what's nice about these is they're really easy to cut out with your paper cutter and get it nice and trimmed up so there's no white around the edge. So prepare my paper here. I am just going to use some Altenew clear and this obsidian pigment ink to emboss with. So, and I like to do these twice just to make sure I have a really good solid dark impression. So I have that, and I will take, I just have a coffee filter here for my Altenew clear, sprinkle that over, tap that off, and oops. Helps if I put this back in my container so it doesn't get everywhere. And I just fold up that little coffee filter and keep it with this and use it for quite. So I'm just using my paper trimmer here, my guillotine one from Tim Holtz, to just line up and cut out my sentiment here, and it does a really great job. Okay, so let's take this, and I am just going to hold on to this with a pair of tweezers and glue this on. We're just gonna glue this to a card base. So I'm going to add just a sprinkling of the satin white sequins, as well as use some glossy accents to put on my letters here. And so I'm just going to take a few of these in a couple of the sizes and sprinkle them around my card wherever I think they need to go. So this is the card that's finished and dry. Glossy Accents is cloudy till it dries. So this is one I did earlier, so it would be completely dry for you. From the side, you can really see the dimension in there on these words. Again, you could do the opposite of this, raise the back up and inlay these. Just one layer flat down gives you a totally different look. You could still add the glossy accents and it would still be really great. So this is my card for today. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell. See you next time.